Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. A few years ago I did a video about our transition from veganism to Weston A. Price, and I thought it would be a good time to provide an update. So we've been Weston A. Price for eating the Weston A. Price diet for about 4 years now, and before I kind of shared some of the changes that we've noticed since eating more Weston A. Price, but I just wanted to do a follow-up video because I know people are wondering when they read about the Weston A. Price diet, they're like, oh, doesn't that increase your cholesterol? You know, do you get sick from drinking raw milk? They have questions like that, so I just want to go over all that in this video. So in my previous video, I talked about how we were vegan previously, and before that I was actually a vegetarian since I was 13. So I've spent a lot of my life eating plant-based, and then the past 4 years I've been Weston A. Price. And so I did initially in my last video share what the transition was like and initially how we felt, and I did mention that we did feel a lot better, and symptoms like I had bruising and stuff, I had infections that went away, and that's still true now. Like, I don't have infections. I have not really had any infections except for mastitis, which is pretty common when you first start breastfeeding. And I have not had any weird bruising or anything like that. And I still have lots of energy. I still feel really good. I pretty much go all day because I have 3 little kids and I do gardening. I'm pretty active. I also work out 5 days a week. So I'm getting a lot of activity and I still don't get tired. I'm also pregnant right now and I'm not experiencing as much fatigue that I did like in my first 2 pregnancies. Especially my second pregnancy where I was vegan, I was really tired. And even before having kids, even when I was vegetarian, I would get tired a lot. Especially I remember being in high school and college, and I would just eat like ramen noodles and Hot Pockets and Cheez-Its, and I would be so tired all the time. I'd be eating stuff too that was considered healthy, like pasta or rice and veggies and salads and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That would be kind of my regular diet, and even healthy breakfast cereals. But I was tired all the time. I remember just like my blood sugar would constantly crash. I'd always feel hypoglycemic all the time. I do not experience that anymore. Even when I'm pregnant, in past pregnancies I've had a lot of hypoglycemia. But my 3rd pregnancy and now this pregnancy, I do not experience hypoglycemia. And both of these pregnancies, I've been Weston A. Price. So I also wanted to share something really interesting about my vitamin D levels. So even when I was first Weston A. Price, I would still get low vitamin D. And I was living in an apartment. I used to live in an apartment, and I wasn't always taking fish oil. The cod liver oil, I was not taking that all the time. And so my vitamin D levels were on the lower end of normal. And I started supplementing with cod liver oil. I started taking it every day, taking a teaspoon every day. And I checked my vitamin D levels again, and they went up to like 80. I don't remember the exact, measurement, but they usually want you to be between like 40 and 80 or something like that. And my level was like on the higher end. So I just wanted to share that because I think it's interesting. And I know people wonder about the vitamin D levels in cod liver oil. I take the Rosita cod liver oil. It's a little bit more expensive, but it definitely does increase your vitamin D levels. Something else I've found interesting is that I think, like most Americans, I have some mineral deficiencies. I've also been pregnant several times. This is my 4th pregnancy. And so I do supplement with trace minerals, but I do notice if I forget to take them for a few days, and then I start taking them again, I notice like a huge increase in my energy levels. The days I forget to take them, like after 2 or 3 days, I start to get fatigued, and then I start taking the mineral drops again, and then I'm like, oh, I have so much energy. I don't feel so depressed. So I think minerals are really, really important, and they're really hard to get from foods. Minerals are in high demand when you are pregnant and breastfeeding. So definitely, if you are planning on getting pregnant, you are pregnant, you're breastfeeding, or postpartum, I definitely recommend minerals. And even with supplementation, something that I've noticed is that I have the enamel on the ends of my teeth are thinning, and that's even eating Weston A. Price and taking trace minerals. I don't know if I'm getting enough minerals, like maybe I just need to increase the amount of minerals I'm taking. But also the good thing is I have not had any dental issues since switching to Weston A. Price. We pretty much have knocked out sugar completely. I have recently been consuming some white flour. I make my own baked goods and I've been using all-purpose flour because the einkorn right now is a little bit expensive, so I've been using all-purpose flour. But I have had really good dental health. I have not had any dental issues. I have not had any gum infections like I used to have when I was vegan. My kids' dental health has been excellent. They have not had any cavities or issues. Every time we go to the dentist, they're like, wow, your kids have wonderful teeth. So I definitely feel that the Weston A. Price diet is good for dental health. Obviously, Weston A. Price was a dentist, but at the same time, I have heard from people that eat Weston A. Price, they eat super healthy, they don't eat lots of sugar, they're eating lots of animal fats and nutrient-dense food, and they are still experiencing dental issues either in themselves or their kids. Sometimes it just happens, like sometimes there might be bad genetics or something that can cause that, but the majority of people I know that eat Weston A. Price have good teeth. And if you're wondering, we use bentonite clay toothpaste. So as far as sickness, we really don't get sick that much. My husband gets it worse than us. He is around the public more, but we all tend to get sick about the same rate. He just tends to get whatever the symptoms are, he tends to get the more severe. We've had COVID a few times, and I think we had a flu a little while ago. We get sick maybe like 3 times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. We don't get like sick, like back-to-back illness. But my husband tends to get the worst of the symptoms. And I tend to get really, really mild symptoms. When we had COVID, I was hardly sick at all. I just had some congestion. I felt a little tired, but that was it. And he was in bed for like a week. But also the thing to know about my husband is he doesn't eat like us. He prepares all his food separately, or he eats out quite a bit because of his job. He does eat healthy when he cooks for himself, but he tends to eat things like egg whites without the egg yolks, chicken instead of red meat. He tends to eat a lot of low-fat stuff, high protein. Because he is just not as crunchy as me, he has a different perspective on nutrition, and I've tried to educate him a little bit, and he does listen to me sometimes, but he has his own way of doing things, so I just like let him do his own thing, and I cook for the kids and I. But I do notice a difference when we get sick, and the interesting thing is that my husband gets really bad seasonal allergies and the rest of us don't. And he also tends to take conventional medicine, and the rest of us, for the kids and I try to give us herbal medicine or homeopathic medicine instead of Tylenol and Mucinex. So that's been an interesting observation. As far as pregnancies and children go, my pregnancies have always been, even when I was vegetarian, they're pretty straightforward, no complications. I've never miscarried, I've never had any fertility problems. And especially since I've been Weston A. Price, we get pregnant like right away without hardly trying. So I've been really thankful for that. It's a blessing to be able to have kids without complications. And the interesting thing too, I noticed my last birth, I did not have any vaginal tearing, perineal tearing that I had with my first 2. And it was interesting. I followed up with one of my midwives, and she was like, oh yeah, we see tearing a lot in mothers who are vegan and vegetarian. You don't see as much tearing with mothers who are eating more protein, because protein helps to build tissue and skin. So I found that interesting. I know a lot of mothers still will have tearing even if they're eating lots of protein, but I was eating very high protein, like 80 to 100 grams during my last pregnancy, and I was eating really good quality sources of protein. So I feel that contributed to me not having any tearing last time when I've always torn before. And also the interesting thing about my last birth, if you watched my birth story, I had this really strong amniotic sac that actually was so strong that it got caught behind my pubic bone, and it actually took 2 tries to break it. it was that tough. And if he had not gotten caught behind my pubic bone, he probably would have been born in his amniotic sac. So honestly, I've never heard of that happening before. I do not know anybody else who's had their amniotic sac get stuck behind the pubic bone. I've heard of babies' heads getting stuck behind the pubic bone, but I've never heard of an amniotic sac being like that before. And my midwife said that she has never seen an amniotic sac like that before. She was really surprised. But he is probably my healthiest baby out of all my kids. He's never ever been sick, except we had COVID, but he had really mild symptoms. He was completely breastfed. We followed the Weston A. Price recommendations for pregnancy and introducing solid foods, and he has been a very happy and healthy baby. And he's also the most calm out of all my kids, which is really interesting. He's just very easy, go with the flow. Like, I just pop him in the carrier and walk around. He doesn't fuss. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't get really cranky. And when he wakes up from his naps, he'll sit in his crib for like an hour and just play before I go and get him. He's not in any rush to get up and get out. So it's been a blessing to have such a peaceful child like that. Now, my oldest daughter, who was born in the hospital, we went through the traditional OBGYN, we did formula, I had to have antibiotics when I was pregnant, and I got all the recommended interventions and interventions for the baby, if you know what I mean, when she was born. And she has always had the most health issues, mostly gut related, I can tell. Like eczema, food allergies, sometimes she just gets randomly sick and will just start throwing up. And we've done our best to mitigate her symptoms, and she eats a gluten-free diet, and that has really reduced a lot of the allergies, the hives, the eczema, the throwing up. It's really reduced it a lot. She still does get it occasionally, but it's been a lot better. And if you're wondering, we did try the GAPS diet, but we had to stop it because it was just so intense, and we just did not go back to it. So we now eat probably about 70 or 80% Weston A. Price, probably 80. It's just that recently we've had to dial back a little bit on the types of foods we're getting. We haven't been able to get as much local food. We've been relying more on the grocery store because the prices are a lot less expensive in our area. Farmers in our area, the prices of their products are a lot more expensive, and I get it because it requires a lot more care for the animals and, you know, more work to grow organically. It's just that we can't afford that, so we have to go with whatever's at the grocery store, and sometimes that means not buying pasture raised or organic food. Sometimes we just have to buy conventional food. So I hope that this video was interesting for you and provided some insight on what it's like to eat Weston A. Price for a few years. We have not gotten sick from drinking raw milk. I do not have any cholesterol issues. I do not have any weight issues. I have only gained weight when I'm pregnant, and then I lose it very fast after the baby's born. And I did notice initially maybe I gained like 5 pounds after I switched from being vegan to Weston A. Price, but I feel like it was healthy weight. I feel really healthy right now. Like, my weight and how I feels really good. So we're going to continue to eat this way. And if you're interested in the Weston A. Price diet, please be sure to like and share and subscribe to my channel, because I will do more videos like this in the future. So I hope that this video was informative for you, and I'll see you guys again soon. Be well, guys.